Welcome to Zoe Stories. My boss caught me in makeup. Now I'm his flirty secretary. I never meant for anyone to find out. By day, I was just Danielle Gray, a quiet, focused data analyst in a corporate firm. I wore slacks, iron shirts, and kept my brown hair neatly combed to one side. I was the guy who blended into office corners, always early, never noticed, and definitely never talked about. But by night, when the city lights dimmed and the hum of my apartment settled into silence, I became someone else entirely.
Danielle.
It started as a whisper of curiosity. A swipe of Anna's lip gloss one lonely evening when she'd left it on the bathroom sink. Just a harmless experiment, or so I told myself. But the second I saw the shimmer catch on my lips in the mirror, something inside me lit up.
It wasn't just makeup. It was identity.
It was escape. It was me, finally breathing. Anna, my girlfriend of 2 years, was everything I wasn't. Confident, stylish, charismatic. She worked in marketing, had a smile that made everyone lean in closer, and had no idea that her boyfriend was borrowing her skirts while she stayed late at work. I loved her, truly. But there was this other side of me I couldn't share. I didn't even fully understand it myself. Our apartment was modest, a cozy 2-bedroom rental in a quiet corner of the city. Pale cream walls, soft lighting, and always the faint smell of lavender from the diffuser Anna insisted on using. Her presence lingered in every room, especially the bedroom, where most of my secret experiments took place when she wasn't home. I'd gotten good at hiding it.
Practiced.
Methodical. Until last Friday. That was the first time I wore the red blouse. The thing about crossdressing, at least for me, was that it wasn't just about the clothes. It was about becoming her. The way my reflection changed as I curled my hair with Anna's old wand, or how my body language softened when I slipped into pantyhose and heels. I felt more complete, more alive, but also more terrified. Because if anyone at the office found out, especially Mr. Blake, my no-nonsense boss, it would be over. I'd be over. Anna was kind, sure, but she'd never understand this. We'd joked before about people with kinks and secrets. I'd laughed along. But inside, I always felt like I was the punchline. The Friday incident had been unplanned. Anna had texted that she'd be out with her coworkers late, some farewell dinner for an intern. It was my chance. I rushed home from work, heart pounding, bag in hand. As soon as the door clicked behind me, I dropped everything. The transformation began. I took my time. It was a ritual now, cleansing my face, applying primer, foundation, contouring my jaw to give it a softer slope. The eyeshadow was a soft gold shimmer, and the lashes? Full, dramatic fluttery. I wore the red blouse I'd secretly ordered online under the name Danielle G, with my debit card and a trembling hand. Paired with a tight black pencil skirt from Anna's side of the closet and nude stockings, I looked in the mirror and barely recognized myself. And I loved it. As Danielle, I moved differently. I stood straighter, my hips swaying with a rhythm that felt instinctive. I even spoke differently, mimicking the YouTube beauty influencers I'd secretly followed for months. But with every transformation came a rush of anxiety. What if Anna came back early? What if I forgot to wipe off the mascara? What if I left a heel out by accident? Still, the thrill was too powerful. That night, Danielle strutted down the hallway of the apartment, twirling her hair and trying on heels in front of the mirror. I even practiced some poses, one hand on hip, one leg crossed, lip pouty. Then the unexpected happened. The door rattled.
A key.
Anna's key. My blood turned cold. I darted toward the bedroom, nearly tripping over the coffee table in my heels. I kicked them off, scrambled to unzip the skirt, and rushed to wipe my lips, but I was too late. The door opened. "Hey, babe," Anna's voice called, casual, distracted. "Dinner got canceled, can you believe?" She stepped into the living room and froze.
So did I.
Half undressed, wig in hand, lipstick smeared and skirt halfway down my thighs, I stood there like a mannequin. Paralyzed. Ashamed. "Danielle," she whispered. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. That moment burned into me. Her eyes wide with confusion. my heart hammering so loudly it drowned everything else out. But instead of screaming, Anna just stepped back, slowly. "I'll go to my sister's for the night," she said after a long pause, her voice trembling more than mine. "We'll talk tomorrow." The door closed behind her, and I collapsed to the floor. Since then, Anna hadn't spoken much. She wasn't cold but distant, like I'd become someone she didn't know. And maybe I had. I tried to give her space, but inside I was unraveling. Every moment at the office became agony. I feared every phone buzz would be a breakup text. Every shadow in the hallway felt like judgment. Then, 2 days later, Monday morning, something happened that changed everything. As I stepped into the office, dressed in my usual beige slacks and white shirt, coffee in hand, I heard a voice I dreaded. "Danielle." In my office.
Now.
It was Mr. Blake. And he didn't sound patient. Tall, angular, and always dressed in a razor-sharp three-piece suit, he was known for two things: his unflinching discipline and his terrifying ability to sniff out secrets. The click of his dress shoes on the tile was enough to send interns scattering. So when he summoned me that Monday morning, I knew something was wrong. I sat down across from him, my coffee trembling slightly in my hands. He didn't speak for several seconds.
"Just studied me."
"I had a curious message over the weekend," he finally said, his fingers tapping lightly against the polished mahogany desk. "An anonymous tip with pictures." I froze. My brain fired off every worst-case scenario it could muster.
No.
It couldn't be. I hadn't taken any pictures of myself dressed as Danielle, had I? Unless Anna had. My stomach dropped. "You wouldn't know anything about this, would you?" Blake asked, flipping his iPad toward me. The screen showed a single blurry image. A figure in a red blouse and black skirt standing in what was unmistakably my apartment. Lipstick bold, eyes dramatic. My wig was tilted ever so slightly, but it was still unmistakably me. I couldn't breathe. He leaned forward. "Danielle, do you think I care what you do in your free time?" I blinked. "You don't. Not unless it affects your work," he said, voice low even. "But there's one thing you've always been good at, flying under the radar.
Now?
You're visible." He stood, walking around the desk toward me. "I don't want to fire you, but if this becomes office gossip, it'll be hell. For both of us." I stared at him. "So, what do you want me to do?" Mr. Blake smirked. "I want you to prove you can keep your secrets clean. Starting this Friday, you'll be attending the firm's client gala." He paused, letting that sink in. "As Danielle, my secretary." My heart stopped. What? "You've got the look," he said casually. "Hell, you've got better legs than half the women in marketing. If I show up with you, flirty, polished, confident, it'll distract our competitors, build intrigue. Plus, it keeps your secret mine." My jaw dropped. "You're blackmailing me?" "I'm giving you a chance," he replied coldly. "A dangerous one, sure, but one you clearly crave." He walked to the door. "You have 4 days. If you show up as Danielle and make me look good, we forget this conversation ever happened." He opened the door. "If you don't, HR will be seeing those pictures." I went home in a daze. Anna wasn't there. Her mug was still on the counter from the weekend, but her side of the bed had been cold for days. I texted her. "We need to talk. Please." No reply. I stood in front of the mirror for a long time. Could I really do this? Go to a high-end corporate gala dressed fully as Danielle? Walk through a sea of executives in heels, makeup, a tight dress, and pretend to be a secretary? And more terrifying, did a part of me want to? I spent the next night practicing. I didn't sleep much. Instead, I stood in front of the mirror for hours, trying outfits, wigs, and walking in heels until my calves screamed. My go-to red blouse wouldn't work for the gala. I needed something sleeker, classier. I ventured into Anna's closet, slowly, carefully. She wasn't home anyway. That's when I found it. A silky black pencil dress, with delicate straps and a plunging neckline. Still with the tag on. Elegant, poised, powerful. Paired with diamond studs and black pumps, I didn't just look the part. I looked gorgeous and scared out of my mind. The night before the gala, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, wig brushed, heels neatly lined up, when the front door opened.
Anna.
She stepped inside quietly, looking tired. We both paused. I stood up, brushing invisible lint off my pajamas. She looked at me for a long moment. "You're doing it, aren't you?" she said softly. "Doing what?" "Becoming her," she replied, setting her purse down. "I saw your dress. On the hanger. I saw the heels in the hallway." I felt exposed again. "Anna, I didn't mean to lie. I just didn't know how to tell you." She sat down beside me, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not the makeup. It's not even the clothes. It's that you didn't trust me." I looked at her. "Would you have accepted me?" She stared ahead for a long time. "I don't know." Silence. Then she stood. "I'm staying at my sister's a few more days. I need time." She walked to the door. "But if you're going to do this, own it, Daniel. Or Danielle. Whatever name you choose." She closed the door behind her. The next morning was Friday, the gala day. I woke up trembling. Every step I took getting ready felt like slow motion. I shaved meticulously, moisturized, applied primer, foundation, contour. My hands shook as I applied the eyeliner, but I stayed steady. The lipstick was a deep wine red, bold, but sophisticated. Then came the dress. It clung to my body perfectly, hugging every curve I'd barely learned how to fake. The pumps gave me height and poise. I added a necklace and spritzed a floral perfume on my neck. I stared in the mirror.
Danielle stared back.
Nervous.
Stunning. Real.
I met Mr. Blake outside the hotel, where the gala was held. He whistled low under his breath. "Well, damn. You clean up better than expected." I flushed, pulling my coat tighter. "Let's just get this over with." He offered his arm. "Let's make a scene." I looped my arm into his, and we walked in. The gala was a blur of lights, laughter, champagne, and heels. I clung to my role, smiling when prompted, leaning in when Blake whispered instructions. He called me Danielle with ease. I answered like it was natural. Several men turned their heads when I passed. One asked for my number. I laughed it off. But the real challenge came when someone from my department, Lucas, the office clown, approached.
"Whoa."
"Blake brought a stunner tonight," he said, clearly drunk. "You knew? I've never seen you around the office." My voice caught in my throat. Before I could respond, Blake cut in smoothly. "This is Danielle, my personal secretary. She works for my private office." Lucas winked.
"Damn.
You know how to pick 'em." He wandered off before I could collapse from anxiety. Blake leaned close. "You handled that well." "I nearly died."
"You survived."
"That's all that matters." As the night wore on, something strange happened. The fear began to fade. In its place, confidence. Every step I took in heels became smoother. Every sip of champagne steadier. I laughed at jokes, smiled politely, and even flirted once or twice when Blake nudged me. I was Danielle, and I didn't want it to end. But of course, it did. Just as the event was winding down, Blake pulled me aside. "You've done well," he said, sipping from his glass. "Better than I expected."
"Thank you," I said.
"So, we're good now." He smiled. "Oh no, you're just getting started." The gala was over. The heels were off. The dress was folded neatly back in its protective garment bag, hanging on the inside of my closet door like a memory I wasn't ready to unpack. I stood in front of the mirror that night, still in makeup, watching Danielle look back at me. The strange thing was she didn't look afraid anymore. She looked alive. And that terrified me. Back at work on Monday, everything felt different. No one mentioned the gala directly, but whispers floated. Smiles lingered longer. Blake acted like nothing had happened, except now, whenever he passed my desk, he gave me a knowing look, a smirk, like he was in on a secret the rest of the world would never know. And I hated that he had power over me, but I also hated how thrilling it was. It wasn't just about the clothes anymore. It was about Danielle, the way she carried herself, the way she didn't shrink. When I was Danielle, I was quiet, reserved, invisible. But Danielle? She had presence, style, confidence, and a growing itch to return. I told myself I wouldn't do it again, that the gala was a one-time thing, a deal, a survival tactic. But that Thursday night, when Anna texted, "Still need time. I'll be home next week. Hope you're okay." I opened my hidden drawer again, the drawer where Danielle lived. This time I didn't go for the red blouse. I wanted something new. I'd secretly ordered a navy blue satin wrap dress. Elegant but daring. It hugged my waist, draped low on the chest, and fell just above the knees. The makeup came easier this time. Muscle memory, almost. I lined my lips like a pro, curled my lashes with precision, added just enough highlighter to catch the light. When I stepped into the heels and looked in the mirror, I whispered aloud, "Hi, Danielle." She smiled back. I walked around the apartment like I owned it, posed in front of the window, twirled in the hallway. I even practiced answering the door in case of a delivery. Every movement had meaning. Every step clicked on the hardwood floors like punctuation. And then I made a mistake. I forgot to close the blinds. The next morning, I found a note stuck to my door. "Nice legs. You should wear heels more often. Apartment 3B. My hands trembled. Apartment 3B was Kyle, mid-30s, gym rat, the kind of guy who hit on every waitress and talked too loud on his phone. He'd seen me,
Danielle,
in heels, through the open blinds. And now he knew. The spiral hit fast. What if he told the landlord? Or my coworkers? What if he posted a picture online? What if he followed me? I tried to shake it off. I told myself it was fine. He didn't have proof. Maybe he was just guessing. But the paranoia didn't leave. That night, I didn't dress up. I sat on the couch in oversized sweats, a blanket wrapped around me. TV playing some sitcom I wasn't watching. Danielle felt far away. Until my phone buzzed.
Blake.
Client lunch tomorrow. I need Danielle. My fingers hovered over the screen. I should have said no. I should have blocked the number and run. But instead, I replied, "What time?" The next day, I left my apartment dressed in an oversized hoodie, gym pants, and dark sunglasses, my real clothes stuffed into a tote bag. I took the back stairwell, avoiding neighbors. My heart thudded the whole way to the rideshare pickup point. The transformation happened in the restroom of a high-end hotel. 25 minutes. Flawless makeup, pinned wig, blue dress. The exact kind of high-end secretary look Blake would want. When I stepped out, he smiled like he'd just won a bet. "You're getting better at this," he said, holding out my seat at the restaurant table. "Still feels like blackmail." I replied under my breath. "Call it mutually beneficial PR." The client, some German investor, was polite, older, and clearly intrigued by me. He asked questions I dodged politely, complimented my perfume, and once leaned in so close I could smell the wine on his breath. Blake didn't interfere.
He watched.
After the lunch, as we walked outside into the sunshine, I hissed, "He thought I was your girlfriend." Blake just smiled. "You played the part well." I turned to him. "When does this end?" His face changed. "You tell me." That night, I got home late and peeled off the dress like it was made of guilt. I stood in the shower longer than usual, letting the water wash off the foundation, the illusion, the courage. But I couldn't wash away Danielle. She was becoming part of me, and part of me wanted her to stay. That weekend, the knock came. I wasn't dressed as Danielle. I wasn't in makeup. I wasn't even ready. But when I opened the door, it was Kyle, from apartment 3B. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, smirking. "Didn't mean to scare you the other night," he said. "Just thought I'd say you looked good. Confident." I blinked. "You're not gonna tell anyone?"
He laughed.
"Why would I? I think it's hot." I shut the door slowly, my face flushed. As it clicked closed, I realized something. Being Danielle wasn't just a risk anymore. It was a choice. And I was starting to choose her. Anna came home on a Tuesday. I'd been holding my breath for a week. Waiting. Wondering if we'd pretend nothing happened, or if she'd finally demand answers. When the door opened, she didn't speak at first. Just placed her bag down, took off her coat, and stared at me, like she was studying a stranger in her own home. She looked around the apartment slowly, her eyes pausing on the garment bag hanging on the closet door. "The gala went well?" she asked quietly. I swallowed.
Yeah,
I did what I had to. She nodded. "You looked beautiful." The words hit me like a slap and a hug all at once. I didn't know how to respond. She walked over and sat across from me at the kitchen table. "Do you want to be Danielle?" I hesitated. "Sometimes. Is this just dress up? Or something more?" I looked down at my hands. "I don't know." She didn't speak right away. Then she said, "You lied to me. For months." I was scared. She nodded again. "I was too. I still am." She stood up. "I need more time, Danielle. But if you want to talk about this, really talk, I'm willing to try." I felt a crack of hope. Fragile. Uncertain. Then she walked into the spare bedroom and closed the door. The next morning, a courier arrived with a sleek black box addressed to Danielle G. Inside, a tight navy pencil skirt, a white silk blouse, and a handwritten note. "Lunch with the board. You know what to do."
B.
I should have ignored it. Said no. Set boundaries. Instead, I packed the outfit in a bag, told Anna I was working late, and left. Blake had booked a suite in the building next to the office, a luxury space with mirrors on every wall and a private dressing room. He'd stocked it with makeup, accessories, even shoes in my size. "You didn't have to do all this," I said nervously. "Danielle needs to shine," he said simply. "She represents the firm now." It was the first time I transformed in front of someone else. Blake didn't leave. He stood by the mirror, watching as I slipped into the skirt, buttoned the blouse, pulled on sheer pantyhose and black heels. When I picked up the lipstick, my hands trembled. He stepped behind me. "Here," he said, taking the tube gently. "Let me." He applied the lipstick slowly, carefully. His breath was warm against my cheek. "There," he whispered. "Perfect." I looked at myself in the mirror. Danielle was stunning, but I was shaking inside. The lunch was intense. I played the perfect secretary, pouring drinks, taking notes, smiling politely. One of the older board members openly flirted with me. "I hope she's available after hours," he joked to Blake. I forced a giggle. Inside, I felt cold. Afterward, in the suite, Blake poured us both glasses of wine. "You are incredible," he said. I sat stiffly on the couch, crossing my legs carefully. "Am I just a prop to you?" I asked quietly. Blake looked surprised. "You're more than that." "Then what am I?" He walked toward me. "You're mine." I stood up, backing away.
No.
"I'm not." He reached for me, just touched my wrist, but it was too much. "Don't," I said firmly, yanking my hand away. "This isn't part of the deal." He stared at me, something unreadable in his eyes. "Then maybe we need a new deal," he said. "One where Danielle becomes permanent." I left the suite shaken. I stripped off the clothes in the bathroom of a Starbucks and walked home in jeans and a hoodie, mascara smudged, heart pounding. I wanted to crawl into bed and disappear. But when I got home, Anna was waiting. She had the photo on the table, the one from the first time she caught me. The red blouse. The wig. The moment that started everything. "I want to understand," she said. "But I need the truth." I broke down. Told her everything. The first time I wore makeup. The thrill of heels. The blackmail. The lunches. The fact that I wasn't even sure who I was anymore. She listened.
Quiet. Still. Calm.
When I finished, she reached out and took my hand. "You've been living in a prison," she said. "You need to choose now. Not for me. Not for him. But for yourself." That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. The red blouse hung on the hook behind me. My wig lay on the dresser. The heels gleamed in the light. But I wasn't sure I could keep doing this. Not if it meant losing myself. Or becoming someone else's puppet. The next morning, Blake sent another message. "I want Danielle full-time. Think about it. If you say no, the photos go public." I stared at the message. My heart didn't race this time. I felt still, like I finally understood what I needed to do. I got dressed, not in heels, not in the wig, not in makeup. I wore jeans, sneakers, and a plain black hoodie. I walked into Blake's office at 9:15 a.m. sharp and shut the door behind me. His eyes narrowed. No Danielle today?
No.
He raised an eyebrow. This isn't optional. It is, I said. And I'm done. He chuckled darkly. Really? You think the board won't be curious when those photos get out? I stepped forward. Let them be. You think I'm scared of a few whispers now? I placed my phone on his desk and played the recording.
His voice from yesterday.
Then maybe we need a new deal. One where Danielle becomes permanent. He went pale. That's coercion, I said. And I'll make sure your wife hears it before anyone else does. He stood up, face darkening. You think you can threaten me? No, I said. I'm freeing myself. I turned to leave. My legs shook, but they held. For the first time, I walked out on my terms. Back at home, I found Anna in the kitchen. She looked at me. You okay? I nodded slowly. Getting there. She smiled faintly. Danielle's still part of you, she said. That doesn't scare me. What scares me is you hiding again. I won't, I said. I walked over and opened the closet. There, hanging beside my hoodies and jeans, was the red blouse. I didn't throw it away. But I didn't wear it that night either. Instead, I sat on the couch with Anna. She handed me her laptop. Maybe, she said, we find out who Danielle really is. Together. I smiled, and for the first time in weeks, I felt whole. I didn't sleep after the gala. Not because I was worried about being caught again, but because I couldn't stop reliving it. The lights, the whispers, the glances, the feeling of my hand wrapped in Blake's arm like I belonged beside him. Danielle had walked into that gala like a fantasy, but she'd walked out as something real. Back at work, everything changed. No one recognized Danielle, but they noticed me, Daniel. The guy who was invisible a week ago was now greeted with casual nods, longer stares, and an unfamiliar tension in the air. And Blake, he became something else entirely. He didn't threaten me again. He didn't need to. His leverage wasn't just the photo anymore. It was the feeling he'd unlocked. The thrill, the danger, the release. He knew what I was hiding from the world. And worse, he knew I liked it. By Wednesday, the obsession was back. I couldn't think straight at work. I was staring too long at women's heels in the hallway, imagining how they'd feel against the tile floor. I was watching tutorials again in secret, how to walk with a sway, how to blend foundation around a masculine jawline, how to speak softly without sounding fake. I was slipping. Or maybe I was surfacing. That night, I told myself I wouldn't dress up, that it was too risky with Anna returning soon, that I needed to control it. But around midnight, when the city had gone quiet, I found myself at the closet. I pulled out a blush-colored satin blouse she hadn't worn in months, paired it with a pleated gray skirt, and slid into sheer pantyhose. The reflection in the mirror stopped me cold. Danielle looked tired, longing, unsure, but she still wanted to breathe. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Panic gripped me. I tore off the wig, smudged my lipstick trying to wipe it off too fast, scrambled into a robe, and kicked the heels under the bed. The knock came a second later. It was Kyle. From apartment 3B. You dropped your mail, he said, handing me a stack of envelopes. His eyes flicked to the floor, where the corner of a heel peeked out. I snatched the mail. Thanks. He didn't move. You don't have to hide, he said, his voice low, almost gentle. I think you're brave. I closed the door on him without a word. But I didn't feel brave. I felt seen. Thursday morning, Anna sent a message. I'll be back tomorrow. I think we should talk. I stared at the screen. My heart didn't race the way it used to. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't about Anna anymore. This was about Danielle. And whether I could live without her. Blake called me into his office that afternoon. He poured coffee for me like we were equals now. Like I hadn't been the trembling guy in his office just a week ago. We're attending a private board lunch tomorrow, he said. I want Danielle with me.
I stared at him.
You said the gala was a one-time thing. He smiled.
It was.
Until you made yourself unforgettable. I opened my mouth to object, but the truth was, part of me didn't want to. He leaned closer. I won't force you. But you and I both know who they responded to. Not Daniel. Her. I swallowed hard. What if someone recognizes me? They won't, he said, sipping casually. And if they do, they won't forget you. In this business, that's power. I stood to leave, unsure of what I was agreeing to. As I reached the door, he added, I've booked a suite for tomorrow morning. You can get ready there. Everything you need will be waiting. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with Anna's untouched mug in front of me and stared at the note Blake had left with the sweet details. Danielle was becoming more than a secret. She was becoming a role, a performance, a mask I wasn't sure I could keep holding or remove. And for the first time, I wondered. The suite was 5 stars. Velvet curtains, gold-trimmed mirrors, and a vanity that looked like it belonged on a movie set. Everything had been prepared. Dresses in multiple sizes, shoes, accessories, even foundation and contour kits that matched my skin tone perfectly. I should have run. But instead, I stepped into it like I belonged. This time, the transformation wasn't rushed. It was deliberate. Sensual. I picked a deep emerald green sheath dress with cap sleeves and a slit up the side. It was tight in all the right places, professional yet alluring. Paired with black stilettos and a soft wavy wig, I looked like I'd walked out of a corporate fashion editorial. When I stepped in front of the mirror, I didn't gasp. I just nodded. Danielle was ready. The board lunch took place at a private room in a downtown restaurant. Blake introduced me smoothly. This is Danielle, my personal secretary. The glances came instantly. From the woman with the diamond-studded watch who scanned me from head to toe. From the older man whose fingers lingered too long during a handshake. From the younger executive who smiled like he already had a fantasy written in his head. I felt their eyes on me the entire time, but I didn't break. Because in that moment, Danielle wasn't pretending. She was in control. Back in the suite after the lunch, I stood by the window while Blake poured champagne. You stole the room, he said, handing me a glass. I played a part, I said softly. He tilted his head. Did you? I didn't answer. Because I didn't know anymore. He walked closer. You know, you could make this permanent. I looked up. You're smart. Beautiful.
Poised.
Why live half a life when you could live fully as her? I turned away. You want control over me. No, he said. I want Danielle to have control. His words were seductive.
Terrifying.
True? I didn't return home that night. I stayed in the suite, sitting at the vanity, staring at Danielle under the lights. My lashes were still curled. My lips still glossy. And I whispered, what are we becoming? The mirror didn't answer. But Danielle didn't vanish. When I woke up in the suite, sunlight filtered through velvet curtains, casting a soft golden light on the vanity. The emerald dress was draped across a chair. My heels lay beside the bed like discarded armor. And I, still in Danielle's silk nightgown, sat on the edge of the mattress wondering which version of me had woken up. Daniel? Or Danielle? I texted Anna. I need to talk. Tonight. Her reply came almost instantly. I'll be home. We need this. I stared at the screen, my heart folding in on itself. Yes, we needed it.